People who propose anti-minority legislation often do so under a veneer of preventing harm and carrying a flag of unity. They do so because that way anyone who opposes them can be accused of being divisive, even though that's what they are doing, singling out one minority or another in a deliberate attempt to hurt them specifically, often without any thought for the consequences their proposal on people who are not members of the targeted minority will be, but who will still be impacted by the measure anyway. Sometimes, when that happens, the people fronting for bigotry get exactly what they asked for when a community comes together to stand against them. Hello, folks, and welcome to Factual, a bonus show that pops up from time to time when I have both the availability and just the regular ability to do one, where we talk about the realities of trans and intersex people like me. If you're new here, my name is Ember. I'm an intersex woman of transgender experience and diverse education. I'm a pro-human public speaker, a debunker of pseudoscience-flavored conspiracy theories, and a bunch of other stuff. This is where you slap the subscribe button like it tried to take away your right to vote, and then use those like and share buttons as if you were casting ballots in the election that we call the YouTube algorithm. Today, we're heading to Houghton County, Michigan, where residents turned up to push back on an aggressively ignorant anti-trans proposal put before the county board. Thanks to Nikki for sending me the story, and my apologies for having to postpone covering it, coincidentally, due to transphobic hate mobs brigading through the channel. But for today, we are still here, so let's do this. We're going to start with the Keweenaw report, which apologies for pronunciation, I'm American. Earlier in December, Houghton County voted down a resolution that would have recognized only two sexes and encouraged other counties to follow suit. After a nearly 4-hour public comment period, the Houghton County Board of Commissioners rejected the proposal in a 4-1 vote. Commissioner Joel Karenin, who drafted the two sexes resolution, was the lone dissenting vote. The commission meeting began chaotically as people packed the Houghton County Circuit courtroom beyond capacity, forcing many to stand in hallways and stairwells. Online, the meeting saw 400 viewers log on. Most speakers voiced opposition to the two sexes resolution. The vast majority of comments addressed the entire board in a civil manner. Many cited research showing sex and gender are complex topics, not easily boiled down with a solid understanding of terminology and scientific findings. Others shared personal stories of discrimination and exclusion, including accounts of friends who died by suicide due to bullying and their own struggles with mental health. Several spiritual leaders opposed the resolution, but encouraged open dialogue. A few comments targeted Commissioner Karenin directly, prompting Chairman Tom Tikkanen to remind attendees to address the board as a whole and to maintain civility. Quote, "Speaking as a physician and a scientist, there are many biological variations. Turner syndrome occurs in 1 in 2,000 births. Klinefelter syndrome in about 1 in 600, and XXX syndrome in about 1 in 1,000 births," said Shelby Owens of Lake Linden. "There are dozens of known intersex conditions, and while some of them are as rare as 1 in 2,000, not all of them are. My own condition, for example, could be represented in up to 5% of the US population. We don't know because no one has ever checked." Murica. If you follow this resolution, she would be listed as male. She's intersex, occurring about as frequently as red hair. Her condition, androgen insensitivity syndrome, is scientifically recognized. added Alan Salmi of Hancock, Michigan. While most opposed the measure, several supported it. Copper Country Republican President Dan Holcomb said the party did not influence the resolution, but, quote, fully supports it as a matter of principle, explaining that it reflected historical election splits, roughly 60-40. Of course, that's not actually true, but Republicans, right? Although I must admit, there is some positive elements of republicanism in this story, so let's not be hastily dismissive. Supporters included a woman who shared discomfort at unknowingly sharing a changing room with a transgender person at Michigan Tech. Others expressed belief in binary male and female biology, despite the science and citations. Instead, they referenced conservative Christian values. Now, it should be noted, there is no such thing as conservative Christian values, because Christian values are diametrically opposed to what conservatives call values. These are not the same thing. But also, you don't believe in a scientific fact or reject it based on political or religious values. This is how you end up burning scientists at the stake. But we don't talk about Bruno. What we do talk about, that's an inside joke for anybody who's new, but it shouldn't be too hard to figure out, is Left-Handed Jedi, who has been a member for 24 months. 2-year anniversary. Amazing. Thank you, Jedi. And also sends a $20 super chat. Thank you very much, Jedi. Saying, much love, Ember. Don't let them get you down. I appreciate it. It's been a day for getting down, but by gum, we're doing this damn show. But I very, very much appreciate it. Oh, goodness. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. I see Aunt Jur and Right-Handed Sith. Oh, we have both our Sith and our Jedi at the same time. It's not rare, but it doesn't happen every show. Atheist Carpenter, hello. And our frequent co-host, Lil of All Trades, on the morning show. Incidentally, we do a morning show here every weekday at 11 a.m. Eastern. Lil often joins me to host, and we cover sciencey topics, philosophy, art, etc. Tomorrow, and this is random, but tomorrow we are doing the ancient Minoan culture. Feminist matriarchy in prehistory. It'll be a blast. I hope you join us. Okay, continuing on. And if you would like to join us in the live chat, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because then you'll see more of these and you can join. Yeah. Continuing on. Most compelling were comments urging the board to focus on more pressing county issues. A mental health professional reminded the commissioners of a $2 million allocation for addiction recovery programs set aside 2 years ago. Another commenter highlighted the county's master plan expiring in 2028, noting unaddressed projects such as a second bridge crossing, expansion of the waste transfer station, road improvements, including Superior Road, can't forget about Superior Road, jail facility discussions, and efforts to attract business and industry. They got shit to do that actually is their job. Because, fun fact, counties don't actually recognize sexes, birth certificates, marriage licenses, all the things. They come from the state. So what the counties recognize doesn't really matter, and they've got shit to do. Several speakers also noted the resolution conflicts with Michigan law, the proposed resolution, specifically citing the Elliott Larson Civil Rights Act that was updated in 2023 to include protections for LGBTQIA plus individuals. Motions to move the resolution up the agenda and open discussion were made by Commissioners Glenn Anderson and Gretchen Jansen. Karanen opened the discussion stating, quote, this is the guy who proposed this bill, by the way. This culture largely targeting young adults and children has been more hurtful than helpful. I assume he's talking about Christianity because that is a culture that does target children and has objectively been more hurtful than helpful. But he probably isn't actually. You're free to identify as you wish, such as a good Christian, while you propose bills that target minority people. Many brave men and women and non-binary people died for us to enjoy this freedom. You can change the facade of your body, but the infrastructure remains the same, which is a blatantly false declarative statement. There are elements of your body that will remain functionally the same or apparently the same or similar or something, but your body is always changing. There's an old adage, which isn't quite true, about how every cell in your body gets replaced every 7 years or so. Again, it's not quite accurate, but it gives people the idea that the infrastructure is always changing. And women know this better than most other people, with the whole monthly thing. But never mind that for now. Chairman Takanen disagreed, citing Karanen's remarks about leaving ideology at the door and emphasizing the county's proper role. Maybe set your ideology aside there, counselor, like you asked to do. Takanen added, quote, "My biggest concerns are jail closure, transfer station capacity, and the Portage Lift Bridge's condition. While I represent my district as a Republican, this is not an issue county government should promote one way or the other. I cannot change people," which is well said. And that's what we like to see in a Republican. That is a Republican who understands the job government is supposed to be doing and focuses on trying to do it. This is a classical Republican. This is a respectable Republican. As rare as that breed may be these days, technically that is still a thing, if you can find them. Commissioner Jansen considered removing the item from the agenda. Anderson was disappointed the issue has reached the board at all. Commissioner Britz agreed, noting the county must focus more on safety, infrastructure, and economic vitality. So the board voted 4-1 against Resolution 2025-032. Following the vote, the commission proceeded with a lengthy agenda, including a report from Canal View Executive Director Adam Laplander, approval of the 2026 calendar, maternity leave for a staff member, contractual IT work starting in January, a resolution supporting a new Upper Peninsula Behavioral Health Hospital, the county's credit card policy, payment to Tri-County defenders, and establishing a death certificate filing fee charged to funeral homes when using services provided by the medical examiner, etc., etc. But what's remarkable about the story is not just the defeat, but the people who came and spoke. And that's why we have a second news story about this. And this is the Daily Mining Gazette, I guess. I'm not from Michigan, my apologies. Houghton, the Houghton County Board of Commissioners, Tuesday, much earlier in December. Again, we had to postpone the show several times. They rejected a proposed resolution declaring that there are only two sexes, male and female. The proposal, authored by Commissioner Joel Karanen, was rejected by a 4-1 vote, with only Karanen voting in favor. Karanen represents District 2, made up of Franklin, Osceola, Schoolcraft, and Torch Lake townships, for those of you who are familiar with the geography of Michigan. Karanen's resolution states, in part, and now we're getting new information, quote, "A male has XY chromosomes and a female has XX chromosomes," which just right on the surface is factually incorrect. That's just not true. If you said typically, then you might have a case, but saying it simply is, it is not true. It then goes on to state, quote, if you were born a male XY or born a female XX, that sex will follow you from birth, marriage, and death certificate, which is almost a sentence. It's very close to English, but also no. The vast majority of people, even still today, go from birth through marriage and death certificate without ever having their genotype read. No karyotypes being done. People don't know. Unless you get it tested, people don't know. They assume their genes match their gender because that seems to usually be the case. But even saying seems to usually be the case is circular because people don't check. So we don't know. We're guessing that the genes usually match gender because no one's ever checked to confirm, you know? During the regular December Board of Commissioners meeting, that Tuesday, earlier in December, Karanen defended his resolution, saying to claim someone born intersex cannot be male or female, and therefore must be provided another box to check, seems inhumane. Now, it doesn't say what prompted this. Was he responding to a specific comment? And this is a complicated subject, but it's a valid criticism because while he's trying to fuck over trans people, he is fucking over intersex people. And that's a bit of an issue because one of the big struggles intersex people face is being forced to cram into one of the two boxes, male or female, and having unwanted, unrequested, and unnecessary surgery performed on us as children, even as infants. And that's something I'm very unhappy about, but we're not going to get into that today. We've got other stuff to talk about. Saying that intersex people have to check a third box, though, that's still forcing us into a box. That's still othering us and changing who we are. It should, speaking as a representative of intersex people, it seems to me we should have the choice whether we want to be categorized as male or female or something else. But that would just be reasonable. Quote, I'm not denying that there are people who struggle with gender identity, which is completely separate from intersex people, incidentally. I just do not think the way our society has chosen to support these people is best. I mean, good for him. He has an opinion. Now let's pass laws based on it, forcing everyone else to comply with his opinion based on nothing but fucking feels. Quote, we should find better ways to do this. And that can be a topic for another time because that's what we always do, isn't it? Is say there should be better ways, but we'll deal with that a different day. For today, let's do what I want and fuck over those people. And then we'll come up with actual solutions another time. I'm glad that this has garnered much attention. It gives me an opportunity to explain myself and hopefully bring the people together rather than divide us. And this is what I was talking about when we opened the show. This idea that like, oh, I want to bring the people together by going after a minority and fucking them over. What's divisive about that? Holy shit. Karanen said the resolution does not deny anyone's rights, except for the part where it does, nor was that its purpose, except for the fact that it is. Quote, the purpose is the counterculture that seeks to undermine the definition of gender and destroy the notion that we were created male and female. Ah, so there it is. Created. It's almost like he's declaring things about reality based on his beliefs, his personal superstitions, and not anything that's real, empirical, measurable, scientific, by which I mean falsifiable, because religion definitionally is not falsifiable. Because no matter how many times you falsify it, people keep coming back saying, oh, but what about if it's a metaphor, though? The point is, when you see people talking about created, they're usually referring to a creation myth. And once mythology is on the table, you're not talking about reality anymore. So why are we talking about this at a law discussion, in a council meeting? This is nonsense. Quote, I believe this culture, his culture, which has largely been targeting towards young adults and children, has not been helpful, but rather hurtful to many people. Yes, I agree. Your culture, your mythology is harmful. I mean, it targets minority people. It tries to fuck over minority people. It tries to hurt minority children, but also it hurts you too, bestie. You were targeted as a child. You were indoctrinated as a child, and now look at your poor brain. It's made of mush. It didn't have to be this way. So, I mean, maybe consider banning religion. It at least would prevent this. I'm just throwing out options. Commissioner Gretchen Jansen said she initially intended to enter a motion to remove the resolution from the agenda. Quote, if this agenda item had been removed, then the several hours of public comment that we just went through wouldn't have happened, she said, referring to approximately 150 people who addressed the board. Quote, and I think it was very important that we did hear from everybody, both sides. Jansen went on to say that in her opinion, the resolution was in violation of the Elliott-Larsen Civil Rights Act. The Elliott-Larsen Civil Rights Act of 1976, according to Michigan.gov, defines civil rights in the state of Michigan. It prohibits discriminatory practices, policies, and customs in the exercise of those rights based on religion, race, color, national origin, age, sex, height, weight, familial status, or marital status to preserve the English is hard, folks. Confidentiality of records regarding arrest, detention, or other disposition in which conviction does not result, to prescribe the powers and duties of the Civil Rights Commission and the Department of Civil Rights, to provide remedies and penalties, to provide for fees, and to repeal certain acts and parts of acts. Which is a pretty broad bill. Boiled it down, you can't discriminate. Not through the law, not under the law, not in accordance with the law. You can't discriminate. Stop it. Get some help. Oh my goodness. Board Chairman Tom Tikkanen also opposed the resolution, saying it is outside the purview of a county board. The role of a commissioner, he said, is to keep the county functioning and provide services the Board of Commissioners is obligated to provide, along with those it is able to provide. Quote, in addition, my greatest concerns are, what are we going to do when our jail is closed? What are we going to do when the capacity is exceeded at our transfer station? What are we going to do when the Portage Lift Bridge fails? Those are just a few examples, he said. And while I choose to run as a Republican, part of my core belief is that as a commissioner, my opinion has no bearing. That's not what the county government is here to promote one way or the other. The only thing I know for sure is that I can't change people. That's not my job. And with all due respect, I do not support a resolution like this or of any other nature that's somehow declaring that the people of Houghton County feel one way or another on subjects that don't affect common operations. Commissioner Roy Britz, and gold fucking star, that's exactly what a responsible civic leader should say, regardless of their party. The fact he's a Republican and did so, bravo. In this day and age, fuck yes. We love to see it. Commissioner Roy Britz and Commissioners Jansen and Tikkanen spoke. There was not much more he could add. Quote, I echo what both Commissioner Jansen and Chairman Tikkanen said. This has nothing to do with the governance of the county board, Britz said. Commissioner Glenn Anderson, however, took issue with the resolution. Quote, I'll accept Joel's comment that he did not intend to hurt anyone, but this resolution absolutely does, and for no tangible reason or benefit to anyone, Anderson said. It stigmatizes transgender and intersex people, and our county deserves better than that. Folks of Houghton County, Michigan, you've got some good leaders, 4 out of 5 at least. Maybe the 5th one when he's not having brainworms about trans people. I don't know. I don't know the guy. I only see this news story. But 4 out of 5, pretty fucking solid. And honestly, that's a lot better than most of this country. Anderson went on to say that he believes Houghton County has been welcoming to all people, regardless of gender, and especially because of the history of the 2 universities in this county for decades, 1 university today. Quote, we have a fabric in the community of welcoming all kinds of people, Anderson said. We have diverse religions. We have diverse ethnicity. We have diverse people in our community. We always have. And to ignore that is a peril, I think, for us all. And that's wonderful. That's magical to see so many people turn up and speak out, and the representatives listen and do their actual jobs. It's fucking refreshing. And the fact that this story happens to be about a bill that would have targeted trans people, that would have affected intersex people, that could have potentially affected cis people in some ways, depending on what the rest of the bill said. Glorious, magnificent. It's a good news story. And how often do we get to cover one of those? And that the people turned out. It's amazing. I love to see it. Oh, goodness. All right, let me catch up here. Rubix is here. Hello, lovely to see you. Rubix says, I didn't realize you were intersex. You should come hang out more. Yes, I actually found out middle of last year, give or take, and there's a long fucking story, but for our purposes today, let's just say I'm one of the people who was operated on as an infant and didn't find out until much, much, much later. Which is very unfortunate because other things happened that would not have happened if it hadn't been kept from me. But again, long story for another time. Kelvin and Hobies says there's no in between, genetically speaking. What you're referring to is psychologically. I'm not sure precisely what you mean, but psychology doesn't apply to genetics. Now, you do need working genetics to have a working psychology. It's that much is true. But yeah, no. Friend, I don't think you understand. Maybe you're one of these people who is scientifically illiterate. And that's not your fault. America has been undermining its educational system for generations. I would hope that a person who reaches adulthood would come to start to educate themselves and realize they've been undereducated. But the fact that the public school systems failed you entirely, that isn't your fault. So, for the purposes of our show, because I'm not getting into a whole fucking lecture on how human biology works, there is more than just XX and XY. There's quite a lot more. There are dozens of variations, some of them very, very common. If you add them all together, you run into a number somewhere around 1.7% of the population, which makes us about as common as redheads. And none of that has anything to do with psychology. Andrew's reminding him that he missed that part. So yeah, there's that. And then Kelvin says, this country is built on Christianity. No, Kelvin, this country is built on slaves who were not Christian until they were forced to be by the slave masters. But again, public education system, probably not your fault. Oh, goodness. Amazing. All right. That's actually it for today. And I'm so tickled that it's actually good news. It just, I feel bad that I had to postpone several times, but I'm so glad we got to it today. Remember to join us weekdays at 11 a.m. Eastern. We're doing all sorts of secular accomplishments. Again, tomorrow we're doing the Minoan civilization, which is going to be so cool. But we do a bunch of other science, art, philosophy, history, all kinds of stuff like that. It's a much more chill stream, but we learn a lot of stuff, and I love it. Remember to help those less fortunate if you're able. We keep a list of community members in need and their fundraisers on the website, betterthanember.com/help. If you want to support what I'm doing here, there are a bunch of ways to do that, from super chats or super thanks if you're watching later, to Patreon, Venmo, Cash App, and more, also on the website, along with all my other links, the gender science and the GSM resources, which Calvin might want to go peruse, perhaps, but also merch store, creators list, bunch of other stuff, lots of resources, all on betterthanember.com. As always, you don't have to hurt people for being different from you just because someone who hurts children told you to, because you are better than religion. Good night. Thanks to all our patrons and top-level members for December. Miranda, Karen Butcher, Jessica the Transmetal Alchemist, Robin Webster, Maya Adkison, Jimmy Tux, Ian Chen, Lilith, Ember Lynn, The Barely Bearable Atheist, Eric Wander, Jason Jacoby, Lil of All Trades, Deviant Outcast, Kelly King, the Detroit Atheist Queen, The Mighty Filbert, Secular Feelinist, and Geo Sam. And you can add your name here next month by signing up at patreon.com/betterthanember, or by joining Emberships here on YouTube at the Cinder level, which includes all the custom emojis, tons of member-exclusive content, member-only live streams, and a bunch of other stuff. I deeply appreciate all the supporters who keep this channel going. Thank you so much. Because of you, we're building a wonderful community that I'm very proud of.
Just like a spark that's breaking out, can't make a stop, can't turn back.